And without further shenanigans, I just kind of want to get right into our readers for tonight. This is going to be a really stacked night. I think people don't even know right now how good this is going to be. So to kick us off this evening, I'm so excited for Simone John. And let me get you spotlighted here. Simone John is a poet, community archivist, and artist based in Boston, Massachusetts. Her debut poetry collection, Testify, was published by Octopus Books in 2017. She received an MFA in creative writing from Goddard College with an emphasis on documentary poetics. In 2020, Simone was awarded a poetry fellowship with the Massachusetts Cultural Council. In addition to writing, Simone's creative practices include co-creating events and exhibits through Unbound Bodies, a multidisciplinary queer Black arts collective, managing Hive Soul Yoga, a POC-centered wellness community, and producing archival audio projects. Learn more about her work at simonejohn.com. Now, please give a warm welcome to Simone.
Thank you, y'all. Such an honor to be in this space, to be kicking this off. And before we get into it, I just gotta raise a glass because Golden, if we were in the same room, you know that I would be toasting. There would be bubbles for you. So if anybody else has a beverage or something that they want to raise, to Golden. And if not, maybe you chime in the chat with some love. But if this wasn't the pandemic, we'd be at a bookstore somewhere or a bar somewhere or a community center with some box wine and some seltzer on the back table, and you would be able to feel all the love that people on this call and beyond have for you. So this work is such a generous offering. It's such a vulnerable offering. And so many people are proud of you. I hope you see that love streaming in the chat, even though you can't see us. So to you, Golden, so much more to come. I'm gonna take my sip and then do these poems. Okay, so this first poem is called What Do My Aunties Want For Me? And it's voiced by a choir of aunties in this manuscript I'm working on. So that's who the we is. What do my aunties want for me? We wish you connection, invisible threads from your fingertips so you know you're held in this web. Wish you arms to hold you, banisters, railings, training wheels to keep you steady. We wish you rootedness and rest, love from your mother backwards and healing from your body forwards. We wish you all your auntie's eyes on you, as if watching from the porch, as if none of your hurts went unwitnessed. We wish you rest again. May you inherit every break, every nap we weren't allowed to take. We wish you limitlessness, life without unnecessary sacrifice, a tender hand on the back of your neck for you to fold into. We wish you a day full of breezes, each one sounding like an auntie's hum. And that poem, I should have said, is after a poem called On This Day by Ruth Foreman, which is so sweet and so beautiful, and y'all should check it out. Y'all heard in my bio that I'm from Boston. All my poems rep Boston. I have conflicted feelings about it. I'm forever working it out on the page, and that's what we're about to get into. Foreclosure notice. No bikes piled up against the rusted fence. No telling who actually owned them. No rabbit ear TV in the kitchen. Sirens on screen and on the street. No chairs on the front porch to wave at passerby or sit a bit, wait for a cab. No boys sneaking up the back steps. No girls getting box braids on the stoop. No stepping off the curb, linked back, looking up at 3 porches to see who all is home. No commentary from Auntie Cookie's 3rd floor perch on what goes on below. No bouncing that ball in my house, you hear me? No couches on the back porch. No running through the alley sounds of sandals slapping. No run to the store for me, will you? No stray dog to follow us the 5-block walk. No more knocking on the 1st floor window because Nana's bell been broken. No ding dong ditch. No mailman, do your duty. No telephone, say what? No saying what comes next. No evidence we were here. A couple more. This next one's called I Still Live Here, or Where You From? And I already said before we went live, the reference to homies moving to New York is not a subliminal, okay? We all good. I still live here, or where you from? Haven't moved to New York lately, or traded New England cold for Chicago's Arctic winds. Haven't swapped coasts for deserts, more sunshine. And at the end of the day, that's why I answer how I do when they ask, where you from? Because all my phone numbers stay the same. And I know where I lay my head and where all the secrets are buried. And my last one for y'all today is about Black queer time. And thank you very much for allowing me to open. It's a two-parter, and it begins, I'm a young nigga from a young country. So it's no wonder I run reckless and live fast. Why I say out loud what makes others wince. I'm here for a good time, not for so long. One of those wayward ones, born of wild seed and with a short memory, acting like this is always what it was, as if I'ma live forever, as if empires don't fall all the time. I'm an old nigga from an old country, so I move slow. I know about creator time. Some of my favorite aunties are stardust. Some of my closest elders are old oaks, born before this land bore counterfeit colonizer names. And I meditate on 7 generations behind me, and I pray for the 7 generations before me. And I sleep knowing my chapter could end at any second, and this story would keep going, going, and going. Thanks, y'all.
Simone John, everyone, come on. Seriously. This is I don't think you really don't understand how good this reading is going to be. This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Simone. That was incredible. That was really incredible. And so moving right along with the hits, we have another incredible opener for you today. Ungrateful Black Artist. Right now. Timothy Dwight, most recently known as Ungrateful Black Artist, Umba, he, they, is a queer poet, rapper, playwright, actor, and activist. Umba is the founder, host of Ceremonies, a Brooklyn-based monthly Black queer artist showcase held in honor of Essex Hemp. 1/4 of the rap group BQRN. Umba is a BAM resident artist, a member of the Public Theater's Emerging Writers Group, an alumni of the Public Theater's #Bars Workshop. His essays and poetry can be found in The Rumpus, The Root, Them, Afropunk, Black Youth Project, The Bureau, and elsewhere. Please give a warm welcome to Timothy.
Hey y'all, hey. Nah, it's a full celebration out here. Wow, I'm about to act really up. Wow, check out Golden, check out this book. Also, Golden literally moved in my neighborhood, which is wild. So we're about to have a really good time. Like, this is just the beginning, friend. Yeah, so happy to read. So happy about this book. So happy that I got like the insider track and was able to read it before everybody else did. Still gonna read it again. Just an amazing work, y'all. So yes, we're all in for a treat, and I'm gonna say some poems, get out the way so we can get to Golden and these new joints. This is my first poem. You had to be there, sitting on my friend's Brooklyn stoop, having spent the afternoon both roller skating and learning how to roller skate around the block, around the park 3 blocks away. You had to be there. When said friend I was teaching turned to me with a face so soft and pure and said, I have something to confess. I may or may not have nibbled on some shrooms before coming here, and you had to be there, as he stared at his hands and croaked, they're growing. And I laughed the way I always do when I get that feeling that a particular joy needs more room to move in my body, and you just had to be there as this same friend recreates the moment as we eat pizza on his front step. Tim, I could not believe I forgot I took drugs, and you had to have been there when Miss Dorothy, the 81-year-old Barbadian woman, stopped at the gate with a plastic white bag full of Tupperware that she told us she received for free from the church next door, and went so far as to sit the bag down on the ground and open one of the containers to show us the bounty of stewed chicken and cabbage and plantain, and even us, two non-meat eating psychedelic enthusiasts, nodded our heads in silent agreement that yes, today truly is a good day. And you had to have been there to have heard the way Miss Dorothy shifted from story to story with the absence of any sort of conjunction, just a tested and true history of talking that she effortlessly leaned into as she stepped between the entrance of the gate and shared all it was she knew about being a Black girl in Brooklyn during the 40s, how her employer gave her $2 an hour, yet still cornered her in the back room and said that if she wanted to keep her job, she'll have to come up off some pussy too. And you had to have been there to have seen her face as she extended her pinky finger and said, he was so small, I didn't even feel it. That man fucked himself. And you had to have been there after she left, and my friend and I laughed and contemplated what our various violences may sound like after 80 years of life. And you had to be there when I got home and my partner walked through the door full of water and some other more flammable liquids and smiled at me and didn't take his shoes off and asked to listen to my music. So played the Black French girl whose language neither one of us knows, but both understand. And even while not touching on the couch, you had to be there to know just how good it felt to be home after being out in a world that, to its credit, gave us both a little of its better manners on this day. Yet it remains that there are so many days and not all of them are like this, but thank God I was there to experience it. And thank God I have the presence of mind to report back, because I swear, if you can just hear my love right now singing kirtan in the shower, you will surely regret having not been born me today. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. Next piece I have, I write a lot. I write like a lot. So I was like, damn, what am I going to share with the good folks on this, what is this, Thursday afternoon? But I think I'll share, I think I might share, I have two more poems. This one, some of these I haven't read back in a minute, so we're gonna see how. Actually, I'm gonna read the one that I actually have read recently, so it's not coming out so bad. This poem I wrote in a workshop by this amazing writer by the name of John Sands, and this poem is dedicated to. Oh, actually, let me find it before I keep talking. To the 10 Black people that were killed and 3 injured in a Buffalo grocery store shooting earlier this year. I wrote this in response to that. It was May 14th. I wrote this on May 15th, but basically it's in response to that. My mama fucks with mukbang videos. She ain't know there were a name for them. She just asked me if I saw this small girl on Facebook who eats a lot. I said, nah. So she pulled me a seat to the table of this pretty East Asian girl who devours until the bone squeaks. I say, you watch these? She say, yeah, pulling the Mac from the back rack of the stove. This was on Sunday. I haven't seen her in a minute, so she cooked us something special. Said she likes to see me eat, that it's calming. This was on Sunday. A 50-something-year-old Black woman walking through a grocery store to cook her little something, all sanctified and giddy. God was a sale on chicken legs that day. God was a safe travel in the rain. God was a bullet to the face. This was on Sunday. At least that's when my mother and I heard the news, how a white teen chewed through a produce aisle. I don't know when the origin of mukbangs began, but I've seen many niggas getting eaten on screen. My mother says it's calming watching that young girl bite a whistle into the table. My mother says God is coming, watching this young racist leave with the meat still left on the bone. What she doesn't know is that if given the opportunity, I would eat a white man while his mother is filming. I would start at the neck, let my teeth be the supreme anti-racism. In Song of Solomon, Morrison describes a team of men that leaves their house each night to kill a white man that killed one of theirs. And I can't help but think easy sounds like dinner to me. It is Sunday and I haven't seen my mother in weeks. She looks at the less body on my body and asks me if I've been eating, and I feel like a coward for saying no. These white boys are rotund, giggling as our blood feels a riot in their belly. I will bite the neck of the next white man I see. I promise it. My mother will watch the video in her living room and sip her tea calmly. She ain't know there were a name for this. She's so proud that I invented it. We kind of jumped right, huh? We kind of went right to it. And this is the very last piece. Where is it? So I wanted to say something. I wanted to find something joyous, but it didn't quite work out. Who did I rename UGBA that is now, I don't know what I just did. I'm so sorry, I renamed somebody my name by accident. That is crazy. I'm giving myself affirmations in the chat. That's nuts. Whoever I did that to, please change your name. I'm so sorry. That is so fucking silly. Okay, this is my last piece. No, it's not Haria. I thought I was changing my name, and then when I was put up, I see my name is not changed. Wow, whoever that person is, I'm so sorry. That is so ghetto. Okay, all right, this is my last piece. This is about my daddy. This is about my daddy. Whoever I changed that to, you have full agency to change it back. Just know that. This is my last piece, yeah. It is my first morning back from my travels and I've decided to do my laundry. That metaphor practically writes itself. The wash, the rinse, the renewal, the cycle I spin in, the way I make myself clean. Back from traveling the world, and the first thing I do is allow all of me to soak. I am proud of myself. I am perhaps even prouder of Brooklyn, how she remained the stories I told strangers who've never met her. I am writing this on the concrete bleachers of one of her parks. There's a soccer game being played as well as Bob Marley. I decided to stop in when I spotted a black do-rag from beyond the fence. This entire soccer field brimming with black men, do-ragged, scissored, froed, locked, scullied, all giants prancing on the sweet green earth, their blood pumping diamonds beneath each step. The field is just as much their skin as it is grass, the collective hues of tree bark sweating from edge to deep edge, and I am watching from the bleachers, spine a little straighter than when I woke up this morning because I am now a part of this scene too, the black boy with the locks in the stand, the artist observing, just as important as a foot that touches the ball. This morning, even the sun is a black man, careful in the way we know they have the capacity to be. In Barcelona, I was sad because I did not get to see a football game, but then I returned to this. Black men playing, black men touching, black men laughing, black men loving. Publicly, I do not know what my father is doing this morning. Do not know what his room looks like, if he has yet just taken a shower while coffee runs, if he is back to working out, pledging to live longer for at the very least himself. I hope he is playing. Maybe not football, but perhaps baseball, like the adult league he used to be in when I was living home from college. How he would smile, spit, yell, and run the bases like the fatherless child he once was and still am. I wonder if any of these men at this park has either a father he doesn't know, a son he doesn't speak to, or both. I wonder if their phantoms are too wishing them recess in the sun. The men in the audience beside me are rolling weed, dancing with the necks of Corona bottles and demanding the field for more breath, more want, more hope. These men are all asking each other to live more. They are saying that here is safe, and I do not know if my father hears them, if he is even in the space to listen. Sometimes I forget that I am the son of a Black man. I see Black men all over my neighborhood, but often forget that one had to use their body to make me. I wonder if it's the same for my pops. Does he see Black boys and remember he's missing a part of himself, that a part of himself can travel the world for about 2 weeks and he will never even know? Does it matter? Am I watching this soccer game because of its beauty or because of its tragedy? Because of the possibility that all of the Black men are just as incomplete as my father, but I get to still be happy to see them smile. None of us make it out of this world whole, and we cut each other because of it. I am so tired of the way my father bleeds me, but fucking still, I want to see him smile. I want to see him spit and yell and breathe and breathe and breathe, because I know at one point he was a Black boy in this scene too. Maybe an artist, maybe quiet, maybe enough naivety to believe he will one day grow into being happy. And I just want this version of my father to be right. I just want my father, who could just as easily be my brother, to be right.
Ungrateful Black Artist, everyone, blowing up the mic and the chat tonight. Unbelievable. I honestly did for a split second think you were typing in the chat somehow while you were doing poems. It took me a second. I was like, what is going on? I was like,
all right, agent, I trade you back. That was crazy.
Thank you so much. Please give some love for Ungrateful Black Artists in the chat. Oh my God, this has been incredible. So we are going to go right to our next opener, our final opener of the night, Ariana Benson. Let me bring Ariana up right here. And let me get my bio. So Ariana Benson, they was born in Norfolk, Virginia, a 2022 recipient of the Furious Flower Poetry Prize and the Porterhouse Review Poetry Prize. Benson also won the 2021 Graybeal Gowen Prize for Virginia Poets and an Academy of American Poets Prize. Their poems appear are forthcoming in Poetry Magazine, Copper Nickel, Colorado Review, World Literature Today, Black Warrior Review, and elsewhere. Through her writing, she strives to fashion vignettes of Blackness that speaks to its infinite depth and richness. Please give a warm welcome to Ariana.
Hello, hi everybody. Wow, gosh, those are tough acts to follow. Both Ugba and Simone. There are a couple of lines that each of you said that stuck with me. Simone saying that some of my aunties are stardust, and Ugba saying that even the Black man, even the sun was a Black man. I just love this celebration of Blackness, of our communities, because I think that that's one of the most beautiful things that Golden's poetry does for me and does for the people that I love, is celebrate us in all of our full Blackness and all of what that means. And also, so Golden and I are both from Hampton Roads, AKA the 757, the best part of Virginia. And there's a really kind of specific idiosyncrasies that come from being there and the Blackness that exists there, and the ways that it moves and is being moved. So this first poem is for Norfolk, which is where my parents are from, their neighborhood where they grew up, and it kind of talks about that. Hotbeds in Norfolk, Virginia. It's nothing to be woken by the hammering racket of collapse. To bathe with tap drip the tint of hands' sunsides. Life among ruins means something is falling at all times. Means knowing how long I have to get out from under a spreading shadow. Today, they flatten the house across the street into memory. Siding panels rotting like rinds in the yard's clovers and crabgrass. It's constant, the vinyl harvest. Red, yellow, pink, all stripped to the same blanched flesh. To make a space more enticing, they say. But I was fed on sweetness sprung up from dirt, and nobody skins an apple they intend to candy. O'Hara wrote once about Norfolk, said to have exercised here, blown breath into air here, is to have been to bed with a Negra. And what a way to admit knowing a place only by the way it looks from above, when on top of it, moving in and out of it at will. Last week, they erased the turquoise house, its kitchen where I learned not to play around the hot stove, where I earned scars, the one in my bed grazes with lips brown like water, like mine. Someone silenced the rocks we kicked down the blacktop, their scrapes filling the gaps in conversation. Someone keeps sticking the same scribbled on slips between my locked door and its frame. Someone sprayed the big weed that planted itself in the fractured concrete before we could even bend our tongues to dub it flower. Soon, all the wrong green will be brought to wilt. Truth is, there are many Norfolks full of us. Our deep hotbeds, our colorful plots. It's nothing to pass one while driving, to speed up at the first sign of us, the rubbled lot of a first or second or seventh Baptist church, for instance. The black dust of its crumbling never allowed to settle, and so you roll your windows up, tighten your hold on your breath. So this next poem that I'm going to read is about the city that I spent kind of the other half of my life in. I went to school in Norfolk, but I grew up in Chesapeake. And for those of us who are from there, you know the difference between the two. But this poem actually takes place a long time before I was there, in 1891. Because I wanted to reimagine the space of Virginia, the space of the swamp, especially in that Reconstruction era, as a place where Black people were building things, and love being one of those things. So this is a love poem. Love poem in the Black Field, Chesapeake, Virginia, 1891. Listen, I did not mean to come to you empty-handed, to be yet another who only takes. My father taught me better than to milk dry what I cherish. I want to bring you my fists full of wildflowers, buttercups and loose strife, aster and thistle, pure as wind. I paid the man at the riverbank, his cedar wood cart splintered by the brackish spray, his nail bed stained a deep blue that fades like shoreline into tan. I bought you a lush posy to hold while we watch schooners troll the swamp, but darling, I've been an owned thing. Been the orphan calf baying, been the birth damp hay cut and baled a few days before. I know we keep livestock for meat and hides, hens for their eggs, but is beauty enough reason to claim what once lived unpossessed? Please understand, I had to put them back in the dirt. I plucked their seeds with my teeth, spat them along the trail, felt each one crush under the stone of my heel as I walked here to you. I know I must sound mad. I hope I'm the kind of mad that makes you feel most whole. Think how, when we're sun-pruned and weary, we'll stroll here among the wayward blossoms. How right to love in a field of our own making. All right, so I'm gonna read 2 more real short poems and then I'm gonna get out of our way because I want everybody to celebrate Golden and their fantastic book. This next poem is, I think, a celebration of us. It's the celebration of the UGBAs. It's the celebration of the Simones. It's the celebration of the Goldens. It's for us. Still life with bouquet, golden spade. And the epigraph reads, I paint flowers so they will not die. Frida Kahlo. We be bouquets, be green leaves, ethereal, be wild weeds, be lamb's quarter, be day flowers, cool blue, be hue busting up, bleak blur. We, evening primrose, morning glory, and larkspur, left bent like sunlight through hickory shag bark, schooled in all the ways of the soil, the ways of low dirt. We, the garden and the golden spade used to till. We, the tiny lurking mantis, veiled in verdure, praying under blade. Lately, it seems all there is to do is wait and wait, we will. We outwill winter, bide out the gnaw of blight strikes. We outroot the storm's walled eye. Our spine stems straight, sepals unsnapped, petals parted but unshed. We hardy anthurium, philodendron, monstera. We sing silky with cordiform tongues, sweating rosin. We bleed, we blood. We be bloodied as thorns. We be blushed as trumpet lily, as damask rose. Things of beauty, we, the bowl survived the gin. We, the clouds in our own sky, the birds too. We, be dandelion, be red jasmine, be jazz. We flush just once, like sweet 4 o'clock in June. Buds unfist for a 4 days bloom. We hear sorry swoons. How lovely, how quick they die so soon. And I will just end with another love poem because I feel like this space is love. And I want this evening to be love for Golden. Last one. Crown shyness. There are some trees, the black mangrove, the longleaf pine, that cannot bear the loneliness of touch, or perhaps of having been and no longer being touched. The difference between loving someone, that warmth, that shared light, and what memory of them remains too close to be past. I was not wrong to ask if you wanted me, but you never said more than you needed to, had to. There was something like a canopy, though fractured between us, that seemed to gently shade what mushroomed down below, enough for lichen to spread, soften. Whatever was there was delicate, an orb weaver's silk, an evening bat's purr. My only regret is that we're still too young for regret. But what could we have done then except be by ourselves together? Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so, so much, Ariana. That was incredible. And you're absolutely right. We are here for celebration today. So please give a warm round of applause for Ariana, this incredible reading. All of the openers tonight, Simone John, Ungrateful Black Artist. And without further ado, I think we're going to get right to the reason why we're celebrating today, the reason why we have all gathered today. And that is none other than to celebrate Golden and this incredible book. So let me bring them up here.
Hello, hello.
Golden.
Can you see me? I'm also starting an Instagram live, so I'm a little nervous. I'm like, I'm getting double lives.
Absolutely. Really quick. So I'm going to just give the quick introduction, even though Golden needs no introduction, but at the same time, Golden, they, them, is a Black gender nonconforming trans femme photographer, poet, and community organizer based in Hampton, VA, Kirkcaldy Land, currently residing in Boston, MA, Massachusetts People Land, but currently transitioned into Brooklyn, New York. They are an author of A Dead Name That Learned How to Live, Game Over Books, and the photographic self-portraiture series on learning how to live, documenting Black trans life at the intersections of surviving and living in the United States. Golden is the recipient of a Pink Door Fellowship 2017-2019, and Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum Luminaries Fellowship, the Frontier Award for Poets, 2019, a Best of the Net Award 2020, a City of Boston Artist in Residency 2020 to 2021, a Mass Cultural Council Fellowship in Photography 2021, a Woman Photograph Project Grant 2021. Their published and collaborative work can be found on Instagram at GoldenNem or through their website goldengolden.com. So please, we're here to celebrate Golden. Take us away.
Thank you so much. I'm just gonna share my screen because I'm gonna share some photos with you all. Can you still see me? Or can you see the video? Can you see? Perfect. Yeah, I wanna first start by saying thank y'all so much for being here. We're gonna go on a journey. I have a lot of poems I'm gonna be sharing, some that I haven't done before in person, and I'm also doing this in front of my family. So I'm really grateful, but I also feel like, it's gonna be a journey, and I'm really grateful that you all could be here. So I'm gonna start. And just to check, the people who are on the Zoom, you can see the photos, correct? Perfect. Okay. I'm just gonna get right into it. Have you ever sliced through a watermelon wound and watched your family suck all the red out? Twin tends to the rind. Mom salivates salt and guards the seeds. Dad beats the bleeds out of our t-shirts. Ham brings pails of hot holy water to raw rinse the deck. We all knife our wounds smile until summer gives us our childhood back. This is how we vacation. Backyard carcasses and lobotomies. It's all we have time for. Grief candies our hands, we clean God's cadavers alone. It's triggering. The way the fruit of all countries fall to the back of our throat and fly up black and familiar. My family says they are shields hidden in our palms. We hold each other's forks. I think they mean all scars feed us. Even love, even red tears can be a weapon or a prayer if you just let the water free. This poem is called Y'all, and it's the poem that starts the book. There were never any neighbor boys gnawing at our summer sweat sickles. No gym winks, no crush chafing, no coming age where we matched the dogwoods. We hung up like girls pearled in pain of windows, dreaming about lungs fat as Pocomoke poured drunk livers, cannon towards the sun. Drowned in black velvet clouds, the weather girls, and fall is how we sing to the black mascots, the murdered men in uniforms, and South Pole, the slick boys. If we could die for Dick, or Devin, or Daquan, or Devontae, we can cut our mouths to be tulips or terriers, leashed by our hunger and touch. Master Mars will look down on us, legendary, urban legend, like a God-fearing black man. Like a black mother letting the outside roam her house, like a cousin's new nuckbuck timberlands kissing the mud's face, still coming out blood fresh. Virginia is a special country, a seasonless neverland where the tire tar is a faggot. The skidded skunk sinking into the snow is a faggot. The boy who meals in the art room alone during recess is a faggot. The herky at the talent show is a faggot. The brine blood making out with our fist is a faggot. The boy's gum pink razor, the juice of joy is a faggot. My niggas swirling in prisms is not how we found our way out. Leasing our bodies to cinema, back home, in the basements, in the cathedrals, and the kitchen, at the spades table, at the Food Lion, at the barbershop. We don't use that word queer. We'd say, ain't Miles Ben's wrist, or didn't Rachel come home without her prom date, still talking that girl up about a sleepover, stirs the sweet tea. The South My South is a country full of Black speeches, speech symbols, a symphony of silences sons sprint from, daughters sing to. I'm not saying there was no one like us. What I'm saying is we didn't know where to shout, to twerk, to leave our bodies limbs. Sometimes you have to run away to love your country back, to know how to look your family in the face with skunk in mouth, razor on belts, tar as mascara and defile dreams. We wife nations, sovereignty sisters, we moon mothers, we faggot forgottens, we new nations. This is XY. Everyone wants a chunk of flower flesh on my front lawn. Seasoned I walk, and niggas here rioting. I just want to pass, party when I switch. I am a male, same suede black as their do-rags. People ask me, boy, and I answer with fist. My friends cry, kill Mo, prying the dirt from children's buckled teeth again. I'm used to metaphor and shame. It never lingers. Some sisters call me trash because I am trash, call me kin because I am trash and I know it. We dissect Adam's rib because holding my girl with my dick in my palm means safety, means school children get silent, means church girls playing on pavements with my joy. Uncles at my family gathering will tell you I'm a product of my own hood. I don't know, I offend those who don't know biology like I do. Cookout mouth and grateful bartering. God gave us language for devil, but did not bother translating the sin. My black ass needed a beaten glutton for blood that saves relentlessly. I got to be gun-ho, sweet to sit at our table unbothered. Everyone wants me to kill my demons because my healing is so important. I soldier here for God and still think about sobbing on Sunday. Study the shunning. Hand me a goblet of my own testicles and ask me if my mom made me this soft. Ask me why I haven't learned to stand outside too long in my own skin, and I will tell you about flowers. Still souring on my front driveway when it rains, looking like mirrors. I still don't know their name. XX. Everyone wants a chunk of fag flesh on their front lawn. Sacrificial I walk, and sissies here rotting. I just want to pass when I switch. I am a bruised, same suede black as their acrylics. People ask me, girl, and I answer with fatigue. I answer with fatigue. My ancestors cry, kill me, prying the dirt from corpses, buckled teeth estranged. I'm used to mania and shame. It never leaves. Some sisters call me misogynistic because I am transgender and I know it. We dissect Adam's apples because holding my titties with my dick in my Bible means anarchy. Means school children get sliced, means church girls painting on pavements with my jugular. Uncles at my funeral gathering will tell you I'm a conductor of my own death. I offend those who don't know God like I do. Cookout mouth and graceless bartering. God gave us language for angel, but did not bother translating the pronouns. My black ass needed a father, glutton for blood that loves relentlessly. I got to be glory hole sweet to sit at our table, breathing. Everyone wants me to kill myself because my healing is so ugly. I squatter here for God and still think about suicide on Sunday. Study the celebration, hand me a goblet of my own pussy and ask me if my mom made me this. Ask me why I haven't learned to sit outside too long in my own shit, and I will tell you about sisters. Still souring on my front sewer when it rains, looking like mulch. I still don't know their sound. I'm gonna take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. I'm gonna take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. It's a journey, so we're gonna land at different places. If I was being honest after Frank Ocean, Nigga, I want to know how to escape the ship and the shore side. The morning saccharine and the American sacrifice, the nigga loyalty and ordained lobotomies. Adulthood is full of old shit, scuttle happy adolescents who forgot their niggas can't float in this dimension. My nigga, only after Sunday, my nigga, only after my mouth be a pulpit for people's daydreams of me. For my family's revival in the cemetery of me, and still these niggas be salved slipping down my East Coast, and still my mother mutates misconception with misunderstanding. She fears the nigga she's son is stillborn. Y'all, country and niggas want me in homes healing, but some niggas want me believing them a niggas that parts the pitted rivers in us without therapy. We are all countryless niggas, and still, I think if I die the beat in simple syrup, niggas will understand me. Every silly second of depression sarcophagus, every second heartbeat not surrounded by sibling nigga shit. By neurodivergent nigga shit, I'll be blunt at the end, probably because of repetition, because a nigga don't want to be immortal, just want to make it to the joint at the end of the day to niggas who take my body in their whole mouth and ask, ain't this God? Niggardly sanctification, I feel closest to the meaning when I'm not talking about my mother in every poem. By becoming the woman niggas flee states to understand I don't take the train away to pray for us anymore, but I'm still trying to prove my niggas wrongs about my pronouns, and I get it. Progress and reprogramming what niggas command, but I really want to be a God nigga sometimes so I can unmake people's memory of me. The nigga truth is I can't stand to sit by them salting my river wounds, but I don't say that because truth hurts niggas in my family. Truth is I had a backpack once behind the shed and my parents' permission. Behind the niggas I would have left, and truth is I would have left if I had a heaven to go to. A nigga Vanna, I still face niggas who don't know I can feel the earth's axis tilting every time I cross the Mason-Dixon, because we don't get to choose who our niggas are or who our demons are, but I want to choose how my angels remember me, nigga. How their ancestors found the sea, because I remember every commandment I've broken every night when I walked to the 7 off Bethel, off Parkway, out the woods to spend our last nigga nights nickeling our subway fare so we can belong in new cities. I've learned to say nigga. I don't like repeating myself. Instead of I'm hurting by my shoreline, nigga, because I can feel my mother tongue buried in me sometimes. I know Hampton since I could spell nigga. And it's stealing feeling Ferrari foreign now. Like the Polaroids niggas used to window at the public library, Northampton might still know me as its nigga because we can both tilt our head back to the past and still look at ourselves the same, but blood niggas. My family don't lift off on feelings alone. Memories get coined, tokenized, niggered, and still I believe in the future there are other nigga Bibles being written in this dimension. Because I'm going to have a nigga's kids one day. Kids who love their uncles, who call me mom, who call us niggas, who look down on me one day and say, golden, I found the seed, my nigga. This poem is called To Dance with My Father, and it's for Dad. Boy untitled, stomach splitter, my son, I forgot my dreams. When you were born, I filled you in the day, in the blank every day, oxygen and ink. No one told me how much I will bleed while being a father. Don't call me fat omen. Don't call me a home haunted. Don't call me gone. Don't disrespect me like that. Like you know who I am. I drove to the therapist before myself, fuck me. I drove you to the therapist before myself, fuck me. Who trains me for this? This Black hiding, this police parenting. You forget I have to duck too. Subtract every bullet from this world and you'll still end up someone's sin. Dad said, if you can't balance a checkbook, how can you hold a child, a gun, a myth, a pedestal, a parent? I did what I knew how to hold. I don't understand the way you paint your face with your mother's smile, but I see this God in you. We made you this way. Sometimes love Sometimes disappointment, I am my father's lung. My mother's illnesses, she keeps hidden in her jewelry box. And yes, we can call them ill now. They're dying. That's growth. Everyone swims away from you, and I'm not sorry because I'm a parent that way. We want to fix everything we didn't have. We are children that way. This is how I became a man, your father. Tell me you did nothing, and I'll tell you about the carcasses I collect in your baby book. A dozen sons' tongues taffied out to be your red carpet, me fist deep in someone's soft desert for you. I remember my dream now. Can you hold my fathering in your mind when you think of me? Do you think of me even when I spit, even when I'm hooked in your jaw, miles, golden, sunshine, you fly like a raven's wing, like a lessons legion, like your mother, I'm learning the ground in the sky sometimes. You hear me? I'm trying to fill in my own blank to live up to my own name. I'm gonna take another deep breath in and then out. I'm gonna take another deep breath in and then out. This is twin for twin. Bitch, you aren't impossible to love. You are impossible to gun without the world watching me turn to genocide. I'd be a criminal for life sentences. Say less if they want me to prove it. This nation knows not what it birthed. Beast have human etymologies. Even evil sounds treasonous to our tread. They've only seen vibrations of hell. Only seen victims as ghosts. We be God because we worship intravenously. Once I dreamt you tomb and decided enough trying to breathe kneeling to convince humans to human, mothers to mother, a womb warrior, a worse sister separated. Even our family don't want us talking about our childhood loss, about our country lessons. Even Cam don't want us at war without him. Fear faces every photo of us at Granny's house. We say we ratchet so people can hold the weight of our weapons. Preamble. Oh, say, do you see the warning? The wishing for this end to be psychology? What if therapists apologized? What if healing could horizon home? I give giving up. I give speeches to the sky. There'll be no here left after your heaven. What's to save? This world would be. Okay. I need some water. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? This is probably going to be the hardest poem I read tonight. This poem is not in the book, but I felt like I couldn't do this without talking about one of our family members who passed away a couple months ago. And I have a poem coming out next week in the Massachusetts Review, and I had to bring our family member into the space. And so this is for my mom and Miss Angie. And this poem is called Didn't We Have It All? Any is such a small hollow in the face of a human spectacular specific. Anybody, anyone, anywhere, just say the word sister. Even slimed with cement or salted as slugs, I'd crawl to you and ask, do you need anywhere soft to lay on? I meet you where your body lingered any day. Sun slushed on your Gap tee. Blood and bile in your earth dressings, laughing in the folds of your forever story. Angie, when I reach for you, no, I never meant any gods, any heroes, any friends. You would hear me sing, I want to dance with somebody. And we would timber in every kitchen, hover in every requiem of hell, drink and dip in every street, dazzled in our destruction. We think we know why we want to live. And then we just fall into the dust star of so many decadent disasters, becoming dandelion descendants, becoming siblings in the den of some simple destroyers. How are we thinner than sky, no louder than the thunder of ants in such Solaris mountains? We danced, didn't we, girl? We sang, didn't we, friend? I'm gonna take a deep breath. Thank y'all for going with me. This is a journey. This book took a lot to be here, and I wanted to bring everyone with me. So thank y'all for going on the journey with me. This is for my parents. This is superhuman. Hell, I know my superpower. I stare back at the solo sun and think I could take you down right to the cool core if my mother asked it of me. Or if I thought my father would write it in his will or on a simple day. See, I'm less scared of spiders and of what it could be like if some people fly out the window of this world's womb web, and I never got the chance to reach for them, to tell them, save your last look for a better tragedy. Fighting scar sweet and scarlet, measured like a middle finger, might not be a love song in your neighborhood, but I'm a country bitch. The light catches dusk often in the summertime, even when the heat is noon high and the clouds peck pails in parades like elephants. I can sense it when I daydream, the adrenaline at oblivion, the reigning obstacles of horizons and homes and here. Humanity. Sometimes I win for miles, for weeks, for generations, asking to accept the end for others, because I believe in better worlds. I begged ancestors, maybe I don't need wings to save a country, but that's not my superpower. I'm someone's child, still staring at the star sun, wishing it never be my earth. I'm human, after all. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit because I need a rescue. I need to save, and this is a poem that I really love to perform, and I feel like this is one of the upbeat poems I have, and I love a little clapback poem. This poem is called "The Low Down Nigga Calls My Glow a Faggot." He think he a sharpshooter, darting at me with all this teethless talk. But I seen the way he comes out at night. A bass jaw ajar waiting for slobber. Pants at his ankles. His body molts when I ain't one of his quiet toys. When I been just inside the graps of his frame. There ain't no surprise why he don't pull out his knot and stretch me over his gizzard mouth. Low down niggas love to call me out my name. Used to forget they used to chase me around the block and hunt me down in their bedrooms. He says grown, like he knows what that is. He licked the static off my shine last week, head in high praise as my nectar dribbled down his throat. I can still smell my dew on his hardwood floors, on his burlap altar, on his blasphemous breath. He claims to know me better than my shadow does. I made a son from my shade and this nigga ain't never been my daddy. He ain't even been the perspiration on Jesus' brow. A nigga puts his mouth on your spout and thinks he becomes what you prayed for. Forgets I defy gravity. Forgets I push the air when I slide in the room. Forgets I love to tell God what he didn't do right the first time. I never swallowed to live. I dirty wine with the moon and suns shower me in golden orchards when their bones are stiff and ripe. You wish you could annihilate me. Split me down the arc of my spine, but I the fetish. Boys try to wash off their third eye. I make them flaming flamingo, scorched banshee, howling martini, a bursting driftwood. Throat deep like mine, I am that nigga with no hunger. I am that bitch who lives past dusk and dirt. I'm gonna do 3 more. This is "And I Will Always Be Your Mother," and it's in the voice of my mother, Stephanie Michelle. Water is golden. I like to say her full name because I like to put respect on people's names. Hands up, head up, shoulders strong, like pallbearer at your brother's funeral strong, like like you forgot to die today strong, like grandmother's skeleton key strong, like you my hip and my neck strong. Don't forget that you my boy when everyone else is watching. You can't scrub the sun out of my child. You already lived 20 years without a halo. You must absorb all the boy you can until they turn you into a prayer. How are you going to try and kill my child? You remember that suicide is never the answer, right? I brought you in this world. And I wish a bitch would try and kill what is mine, even if it is you. Don't forget my fist is stronger than any bullet. That peroxide cannot clean a body like a prayer. My hands have never stopped repenting for you. Didn't I say keep your head up, boy? If your mind is stuck in the clouds, how are you going to hear the bell ringing your name? I still talk to God about you. Still hold your baby picture on my chest at night. Don't stop holding my picture close, even if both hands are shackled behind the back I gave you. I understand. You think you a grown woman now, but I didn't raise her to talk back to your elders like that. You still mine. You still my child, boy. Don't put your head down unless God got you. Do you got him, girl? Here's my shoulder, child. And I got you forever, girl. I love you. And there is no condition in this world that can stop your mama. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 more poems. How we doing? It's been a journey. It's been a journey. Woo! These last 2 poems are probably my favorite, but I'm biased. I'm biased, right? They're all my favorites. But yeah, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Ugh. This is for my granny. I wrote this one for my granny, and this is the last poem that's in the book. And this is "And When They Come for Me." If we were born bees, never will we wonder if we needed men tomorrow. Have you ever thought about it? How purpose isn't west or east, how God might be another word for family in the South. Our Black auntie's only synonym for free. In the North, we say seahorses are trans and no one goes hunting for them in the ocean. Lord, my granny cries out every time a bee sees her front porch. I used to be afraid of needles too, but now I'm more afraid to die by loneliness and meet summer. This is the first year I haven't migrated since 17, and still I have tree branches tucked in my throat. I can make a new house while everyone sleeps, I think. I'm a bad birdie, zzz, zzz. I'm a buzz light years away from language and a land name. I'm scared to say it. Holding you makes me feel infinite. Impossible to gut or gorge. I hope there is a dimension where I believe in standing still with someone's sin and glory. When I die, give my brain to the bottom of a hand-dug flower bed, where the dogwood trees splits the pink until I'm root and stem again. Father, son, I want to be somewhere singing through the wooden door of my name-made house with a maiden name. Ask my mother, we're going on vacation to other worlds within ourselves. I hope you can run. Oh, look, the sun's coming out, Granny. Bees, the chainsaw is still in the shed. Can I carry you to safety? Lover, where's direction? Where's the sin? I made it home.
I'm going to answer that question from my own personal point of view. I love being Black. I am proud to be Black. I know there are lots of forces out that want me to feel like this is something to be ashamed of, but I refuse to be ashamed of it. It's a color that I own. It's a privilege to be that, and I carry it with pride.
This is my last poem. I just have to say thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for everyone who joined. I'm just so grateful for this journey. I'm so grateful for where I come from. I'm so grateful to the people that I'm trying not to get too emotional right now. We kind of got to get through this poem, but it took a journey to get here, and everything can't be put in a book. So I'm just really grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be able to share a little part of who I am and where I'm from. And this is for my family. This is from my hometown. I'm fake because I've been companions with the same good, same dark gummed niggas, ravens, dope girls since Pariah and the ADHD prognosis. And somehow think I'm going to escape my hometown anniversary. I'm running away when I know the answer to why I wish more days began, quoted in quotidian quiet. With soliloquies from my mother about how she misses Christmas dinner at daddy's house. Back when we wore family out by darting the dozens. When can we make laughter our dominion again? Must we always decide between a country and our childhood? I deserve to be a daughter. And my grandmother deserves more days when she remembers the German chocolate cake recipe. Better than any Pocomoke praise dancer could. My God, my home is North and South, Southern and City Skull. Bone and breast milk from the most marvelous magicians this world didn't ever called mother. Who is any Pocomoke boy? Who is any man who's not held my granny by the back and told her we are blessed? You chose us. Yes, my family, we are pretty, but we're not a picture. We petty shredded our teeth against each other's necks. We rode through sundown kingdoms and tore down school systems. Hell, there's an alternate universe where we killed to set one another free. Golden because it belongs to my birth, to my pop-pop's morning prayer, to my father and I, soul silence, diaspora doves. Do we ever make it back from our origin stories? We do. To the earth where our uncles rest, a porch holler away, Unionville, my always North Star. My better Black nebula, I don't know geography nor gender any better than I did in the 90s. Find me here, X757, Y443, singing Jill Scott, living my life like we know my name. Thank you so much.
All the love in the world to Golden right now and that performance. I just, let's just take a minute.
I need a minute, y'all. Woo! Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's happy tears though. It's happy tears. It's happy tears.
That was absolutely a journey and a gorgeous one. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We are gonna do a brief Q&A.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm
gonna take your time. I'm giving the lowdown. I do have some pre-written questions, but folks in the chat, if you have some questions of your own, please feel free to put them in there. I would love to get to them. I'd like it to be a little conversational like that. So if you've got any questions of your own, please throw them in there. And on that note, just to start us off here, I do want to start with a question about the incredible photos that we just saw tonight. And I just want you to talk a little bit about the photo editing process for you and what were the difficulties and joys of giving new light to memories that deserve to shine.
One second, I just wanted to end the Instagram live because I was like,
Yeah, please.
Can you repeat the question too?
Oh, of course. So for the photo editing process in particular, what were the difficulties and joys of giving new light to memories that desire to shine?
Yes, I mean, I feel like as you can see behind me, like my life has been like lined with family photographs. Like I feel like I've had so many photographs that have like I just like the memory that I have is like I feel like every time I go home, like we would have these buckets of photos and we would just take times going through them. And I feel like it just really stuck with me. I feel like I really got my love from photography just like going to my grandparents' house, going to my family's house, And I feel like that carried along with me. And then I feel like when I got into school, I actually learned that my pop-up was a photographer.
Wow.
And, like, photographed a lot of like where my family's from, like in Pocomoke City, and like has a lot of like the archives of where my family's from. And I felt like I just like when I was writing the book, I felt like it was something that was really, really important for me to include, to honor, because I wanted to carry them with me. Like, I feel like the one thing about this book that I really, really love is that like you get to see my grandparent, you get to see my pop-up, you get to see my granny, you get to have like, they get to be a part of the book because they helped make these poems too. And so yeah, it was just really, really important for me to like have those images in the book.
Absolutely. And going a little bit off of that, so obviously this is a collection of poetry and photography. And I want to talk a little bit about the placement of everything, the juxtapositions, you know, because there were certain poems when I was reading, like Superpower being right near that beautiful photo from the wedding of your parents.
Mm.
Like, that is just the perfect synergy. And so I'm curious, how did you determine the right placement and juxtaposition for each of these photos and poems? And what was the criteria for you in mind when looking for those connections?
Absolutely. I have to really first and foremost shout out my good friend Malika, who also helped come up with a lot of these layouts. And I feel like for me, it was like honestly some photos got to get like, we had to take some photos out. We had to like swap around different photos. It was about, sometimes it was about orientation, sometimes it was about like, because obviously there's like tons of photos. Like I literally have like, there's probably thousands of photos between all of the houses, right? And so I think that for me, it was just a feeling. Like I feel like it's like thinking about Superhuman, like I knew I wanted to end on my parent, like, because my parents are such a like they have really like met, like held us together. Like my mom is like, my mom texts us every birthday of every, like in every family. Like she always is like, Aunt Paulette's birthday is this day. Remember this birthday. I feel like for me, I wanted to show that kind of like collaboration in like the, as I'm like doing the layouts. And so like I think that like sometimes it was just about like which ones that really like set with my heart the most and which ones like really spoke to me. Like again, even the cover, like the cover was at first originally supposed to be, was going to be the image that is just me by myself when I was younger. And then I changed it because I was like, I really want to have my family, a family photo on the cover. Like I had not seen a book where it was just like a family together, right? Also, I really wanted this book to honor, it came out on my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, and it was something really, really important to me to have. And I felt like it was such, I feel like my mom has this really beautiful way of saying like on her anniversary, she would like tag us in the anniversary post. And I thought that was really beautiful way of looking at it, that like the anniversary is also about us. And that's, I feel like that I get that from her because I feel like as much as I'm talking about myself, it's also talking about a collective we, right? Like these things couldn't be possible without being connected to these people. And I feel like I do think that I get that from my mother of like seeing the we in us. Like this is a collective journey. Like this, like, and I think that's why the book reads this way. Like a lot of these poems, like I might be talking about myself in the specific, but then I'll be a photo of my mom or a photo of my family. And I feel like it's about kind of understanding that like there's so many similarities between us and also like recognizing the differences. And I wanted to really hold that nuance when I was like writing this book and like thinking about the layout, because I haven't really seen a project in this way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And your intuition is on the money. It's so perfect. And we do have a question from the audience, from Taryn. The perspective taking and your ability to channel so many voices so clearly is legit astounding. How were you able to channel and clarify the multiple perspectives you write from?
Thank you for that question, friend. That's such a good question. I really like, honestly, I've like sometimes I do think that like some things are a spiritual practice, like some things just like happen in my body that I can't really explain. I don't know, like it started with like writing the poem about my mom and my mother and I's relationship. And I think it's because I've been with them for so long, I can really hear their voice like sometimes translate through me or like what they would say to me. And I feel like sometimes in that I'm trying to figure out the like who they actually are, like how they would actually say things. And I feel like I don't know, there's just like such an ear thing. Like I feel like I really do write a lot from the ear. Like I'm not a person who actually read, like I do read, but I don't read a lot to write. Does that make sense? And I feel like I really do. I think it's more of a, my writing is more of a spiritual, a lyrical practice. And I feel like sometimes, like I remember I actually wrote my mother poem at Pink Door, which is a fellowship run by Rachel McKibbins. And we literally got this prompt and I was sitting there and then I don't even know where it came from. Like sometimes these poems really just fall out of me. And I feel like sometimes I just be hearing people in my head, like, and I think that the dad poems actually was way more difficult.
Sure.
Because my father's not a person who talks a lot, first of all. Like he does talk, but like he's not a person who really um like outside of our like internal like family, like he's not a person who is like very like chatty. My mom is more talkative and more kind of like expressive, so it's kind of easier. And also me and my mom are very similar, like very similar in how we are, so I think I can like pick up on that voice really really clearly. But the dad one, I was like, yeah, that one was hard, but it was the truth, right? Like I feel like I try to write from a place of truth and I wanted to like really sit with his perspective, right? The reason why this poem comes after like the aftermath of so much, like I couldn't just focus on me, like in that regard. Like it would be selfish to just be like, this is how I take everything. Like, yes, there are things that I wish didn't happen in my life, like in certain things, and I talk about that in the book. But at the same time, like it's not easy being a Black parent from Pocomoke City, Maryland, and like raising 3 Black kids and in Virginia, and being married, like, you know, like my family like left Pocomoke. They were the first ones to like kind of not first ones, but like they moved to Virginia. There was no one else in Virginia. My dad went into the military, to the Air Force, to be able to afford college, to be able to afford the life that he has given, the life that he has given us. And I really needed to tell the truth of that. And I feel like it would be really selfish of me to not honor like the fullness of that experience. And I really wanted to, yeah, like I think the thing that's really like the lines that are really sticking out to me, I remember like I was like, who teaches me how to prepare for this Black hiding, this police parenting, like those are really real. And I really needed to sit with that. And I think that sometimes I write these poems also for myself to sit with. I hope they answer your question.
No, that was great. All right, so I have another, actually going off of that, I have another specific question for you, and then we do have another question in the chat. So in those poems, To Dance With My Father and I Will Always Be Your Mother, you do literally take on the voice of your parents as you retrace memories of their struggles, wisdom, and love. And I'm curious, how did distance, both physically and emotionally, as you described in Y'all, allow you to go back and love your parents, your country in a different way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like both of those poems are journeys, right? Like I think that there are journeys in the poem. Like the book is a journey, right? But the journey of those poems is like sitting with like my own, like the uncomfortability, like and I Will Always Be Your Mother starts off like in this like transphobic, you know, regard of like trying to like, you know, boy, this like kind of thing, and like this journey. And actually that poem feels like it's actually like years, but like it's kind of condensed into this like one poem. But I feel like it took me a long time to write them. And even like I literally edited To Dance With My Father like the day before we sent to the printer. Like I literally edited down to the last possible moment. So like, and I wrote that poem like 2-3, like I can't remember when I wrote that poem, like 2 years ago at this point. And the fact that I really wanted it to be like really crystal clear, I think that shows the level of care that I wanted to have, and also the level of respect I wanted to give to my parents. because I mean, like again, like that journey is like they've gone through a lot, they've done a lot for me, and also, you know, through it all, I think that the book always ends in a place of love, in a place of, and I think it's like a journey of forgiveness, this journey, and I think that I had to also, they had to also forgive me, right? Like they also had to forgive me for things that I've said to them, like, you know, like, and so I really tried to hold the complexity of all that in the book.
And you did it so perfectly. You did it so beautifully. So we do have a question from Noy. So Golden, so it's two parts. One, how are you caring for yourself after this reading? What are some things that are bringing you joy right now? Just to check in.
Oh, okay. I can answer that. I can answer that. Sorry. I'll take care of myself. I really do. Like, honestly, like I know I cried a lot today. And I feel like I usually don't do this many poems in a set because a lot of the poems, like think about the spiritual practice of like embodying these voices, right? Like there are many voices that I'm holding in my body and then having to like basically like read it's really like my life. Like I don't like this could have been like obviously this feels like a memoir to me, like a lyric memoir. Like it's so much of myself, and there's so much that I could have also input. Like there are poems that just had to be cut. And I really do think that like the care is doing it. Like the care is reading it. Like being able to read these poems, like my family's in the Zoom, and like being able to read them from my family is like I haven't done that. Is really, really cathartic. It's really, really important for me because I think that like we were there, like we were there for these tough moments. We were there, and like I'm beyond it. Like I'm not in the thick of it anymore. Like I have a really beautiful relationship with my family now. Like I'm out. Like my family knows I'm trans. Like I come back home, I wear what I want. We don't have any like. Obviously, there's are things like things happen and this growth, but like I'm not in this place anymore, and I think that that's really important for me. Like I really am. I had to get beyond it to write about it. Right. And I feel like the things I'm doing to care for myself after this reading is I'm gonna go watch the US Open probably. I'm gonna get some Prosecco. I'm gonna get some drink, I'm gonna eat some food. I don't like I am caring for myself. I am I feel like these are all like happy emotions. Like obviously they're like tough poems to read, but like I think that like life is tough and honoring the toughness within it is really important for me. Like I don't like to be fake. Like I'm not a fake. Like I'd rather be really real. And I feel like that's what that's also what the poems are. They're really, really real. And they're really Black too. Like I think that I'm grateful for that. And I don't know, like I just think that like, you know, the space was opened up so beautifully. I had, you know, to see Ariana and UGBA and Simone, like I really was so grateful just that for them to say yes and to hear their poems and their work. And I feel celebrated because like, you know, this is really difficult to write a book, to, you know, market it. Like now we're in this marketing stage of like reading and doing all these different things. Like I think the thing that I really care about is this, like the actual book. Like, I think that like sometimes we get wrapped up in the, oh, is it gonna get this award? Like, are we gonna like do, like, can we get it to this shelf? Like, how do we get, there's so many things that are like in our industry that is like barriers for work like mine, right? Like, and I just wanna be like, to be very real and transparent, like, I'm really grateful to have chosen Game Over Books and Game Over Books to accept this book because like not a lot, like I've pitched several projects to different publishers and a lot of people have said no just because of the poem, just because the book has photos. Yeah. I've heard people have said no right out the gate. People don't understand it, and I really had to fight to get a book like this. And I hope this book really opens the door for other poets who want to do stuff like this. Because I just think that like this book would have been boring to me without the photos, and I think that it just wouldn't have been the same project. And yeah.
Absolutely. So we're gonna do two more questions, and then I think we wrap it up for tonight. It's been a very full night. Grateful for that. So I'd like to ask, because you do bring it up in a few of your poems, reference. And so I'm just curious, as a neurodivergent artist, how do you feel ADHD and neurodivergence played in helping you preserve your softness, your queerness, and your core during your formative years?
MJ, you be having such great questions. Like your questions be so great. Can you do all my interviews? Like, I love this.
You know, after you told me about that one interview, I was like, absolutely
And
not. We're
then
gonna
I
do it
was
right.
like, this is such great questions. Like, wow, such a great question. Yes, I feel like, you know, anyone who really knows me know that I am neurodivergent as fuck. I feel like, I mean, I think that like the poems just sound like, I feel like I really do write from sound. And I feel like early in my life, I didn't really understand what that meant for me, like what that mean. Like I used to always just hear these things. I remember, and I also want to tell a funny little funny anecdote about, like, you know, embodying voices. Like I remember one time I was like, I used to love Dreamgirls, and I'm not going. And one time I like did this performance and I started crying, acting like I had this man that I did not have. I was like 10 years old, and people were like, what is wrong with you? Like, what is going on? And I feel like sometimes I'm just really like, I'm able to like embody these things. And so I feel like that comes from neurodivergent, but I feel like it really helps my writing, like really poignantly. Like I feel like such of my work is just like an ear, and I've had to like hear it, and I have to hear it. And so I feel like being like having the chance to really like talk about it, because in this way, like in this book, was really important to me. And I know it pops up like in like small places, but I feel like I was diagnosed with ADHD very, very young. I was one of the like, you know, I had a 504 plan, I had to onset. Like my parents were like, my parents were really really involved in like getting me the resources that I needed to be able to go to school and learn. And like, because now I've been I've been living with ADHD and like had the support to get there, like I have built my life to be able to like I don't want to say function. I hate that word because that sounds like really ableist, and I feel like that's a word that people say to us. But to be able to do what I need to do and honor like my process, like I feel like I have less stress and I feel less like concerned about like what neurotypical people would say about it. Like I think that like people can see it now. Like even like when I do photographs, like people wonder why like I can pick a color and like match it perfectly. And I do think that's because I'm neurodivergent. I do think that is like my ability to match color, my ability to match a sound, my ability to hear a lyric and be able to just write off the cue, like all these things, which were like things that seemed annoying when I was a child, are really, really helpful to my writing practice, and something that I try to talk more about. And I hope I do talk more about it as I write more. But I'm the type of person who likes to write in an authentic way, and I don't think I need a poem that like talks about ADHD, because I think it pops up when it needs to. And I also think that like the poems are neurodivergent, like they don't need to be like another thing, my poems are Black, you know, like my poems are queer, like they don't need to mention it, right, because they are always doing it, right. So that's really important to me.
Absolutely. And to just wrap us up tonight, I'm just curious, you know, because obviously people are going to be getting your book now, people are going to be reading it themselves. And what do you hope readers take away from the book in regards to empathy, family, forgiveness, and the freedom of naming and claiming yourself?
That's such a great question to end on, and Jay, another banger. I don't know, like I feel like for me, I can only speak for my family, right? Like I can only talk about this lineage, but I do hope this book kind of encourages people to be honest about what they're going through. Yeah. And also be honest about your healing journey. Like this book took me years to write, and I had like, there are moments where I was where me and my family were cool, and there are moments where my family were, you know, like we were having issues. And I think that the important part is that this book doesn't try to like bubble wrap everything. Like I do think that it gets to a point of like freedom and forgiveness. But I actually think the last poem, and I think the reason why I ended on "and when they come for me" is because it's about, I think I end on me. And I feel like that's what I hope the book really pushes to be, is that like at the end of the day, you can only focus on you can only like change yourself, and you have to change, you have to be able to honor who you are, and you have to start with yourself. Like, and I hope that that's something that people can grab from the book, is that like forgiveness is also about healing yourself, finding the joy, naming the hardship, and not being afraid of the imperfections in it. Like, I think that sometimes we tend to have this idea of like bubble wrapping, or also even feeling like we have to like go back and like make these huge, these grandiose, like kind of like, oh, I have to forgive this person who did all this stuff to me. And it's like, you have to be on your own journey and figure out what that means to you. And this is only a snippet of what my journey was. As you can see, there's so many poems where I'm like, fuck forgiveness. And then there's poems where I'm like, okay, I really fuck with these people. Like, and I really, I think like that's the journey of life, right? Like, like living, like learning how to live means learning how to live day to day, you know, moment to moment, second to second. Like, you cannot be planning for these like long, you know, stints on life. Like, you really have to just take it day by day and like be really real with what your capacity is. And I also hope that people take away, that people learn who my family are. Like, one thing about this book is dedicated to my family, because I don't like, there aren't many histories or you know, documents that talk about Eastern Shore, Maryland, talk about being from Hampton, being from the South, being from Virginia. And I feel like this is the history of Virginia in a book that no one can ever deny. And I'm really grateful that like, if anyone ever like needed to like be like, what is the 757? Who they like, what does that mean? Like, this book is all about it. And I'm really grateful. I'm really, really grateful. So yeah. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We're very grateful.
I hope your copies will come soon. Come soon.
They're on their way.
Absolutely.
And, on that note, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight for the celebration, the showcase of this incredible book and this incredible artist. And thank you again to our openers, Simone John, Ungrateful Black Artist, and Ariana Benson. It has just been a beautiful, wonderful night. And again, thank you for letting us, Game Over Books, be a part of this journey for the book. And we are just so proud and so honored to be putting this out in the world. Yeah. Thank you. And on that, be merry, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Continue on the celebrations. Raise a glass for gold and have a drink. And have a great night.
Bye, everyone.